In this video, we'll be doing multiplication algorithms, or just different ways to multiply. The first one we'll be looking at is simpler computations. So we're going to fill out this chart. Notice we're multiplying 5 times 15, so we could start by using our base 10 blocks, so that we have our 5 tens and then 5 sets of 5. So we have 50 and then 25, so that gives us 70. We also have partial products, so we're going to take our 15 and divide it into 10 plus 5, which we will then multiply by 5. So we'll get 5 times 5 is 25, and 5 times 10 is 50, and we still get 75. Then we have our place value. When doing place value, there's two ways you could do it. The first one, we'll look at the green. You see the 5 times the 5, that's going to give me 25. And then we also have the orange, 5 times 10, and that will give me 50, which you add together to get 75. Now you can, in place value, you can do the tens first. So we could do 5 times 10 and get 50, and then 5 times 5 and get 25. Either way would be correct. And then, of course, we have old school. The old school is when we just multiplied our 5 times 5 and got 25, but we had to carry that 2. And that sometimes confuses students. And then 5 times 1 is 5, and add the 2 to get 75. Let's fill out one more chart. And then I'll have you do one. So the first one, 3 times 11, here's our concrete blocks. We've got 3 rods and 3 units. Then we'll just add all those up. So we wind up with 33 blocks. The partial products, we're going to take the 11 and divide it into 10 plus 1, and then we multiply those by 3. So we'll get 30 plus 3, or 33. Then we have our place value. Place value, you've got 11 times 3. You can choose to do the 3 and the 1 first and get 30, and get 3 and then do 30. Or you can choose to do the 3 and the 10 first. And what most students miss is seeing that as 3 times 1 instead of 3 times 10. But that's why it's called place value, because the 1 is in the 10's place. And then, of course, we have old school. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 10 is 3. So I'd like for you to complete 4 times 22 and complete that chart. So next we have our 2-digit factors. So this is what we're going to use when we're multiplying 23 times 14. First we'll use our concrete. This is also called algebra tiles, you may have seen. You can also use base 10 blocks for that. So here's our 23. You've got your 2 tens and then your 3 units. And then times 14. So there's your 1 10 and your 4 units. So then you go back through and you fill them in. So now that gives me 100 and 100. So that gives me 200 because I have my 20 up here times my 10. Then we have the 3 times 10, so that gives me my 30 right here. Then we have 4 times 20 because we have 4, and then there's 20. So 4 times 20 gives me 80, and then my units, 4 times my 3, so that gives me 12. So that's a concrete way of looking at it. Now let's use place value, and place value is going to represent this concrete. So look at the green one. We're going to say 4 times 3 and get my 12. Then we said 4 times 20 because that 2 is in the 10 spot and got 80. Then we're going to multiply, do the orange. And that is not 1 times 3 because notice that is in the 10 spot. So it is 10 times 3, which gives me my 30. And then 10 times 20, which would give me my 200. Notice all of these numbers here are represented on this side by the concrete. So now we're going to progress to the old school method. Notice if I add up the green, I'm going to get 92. And if I add up the 230, I get 230, which you will see appearing down here in our old school. So let's do the old school method. Remember, old school is 4 times 3 is 12. I have to carry my 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus that 1 is 92. So then I take that away so it doesn't get confusing. So then I'm going to say 1 times 3, remember they always said put that placeholder in there, that 0. Well, that's really because you're saying 10 times 3. That's how I get it. 1 times 3, and then 1 times 2 is 230, and then I just add them together and carry my 1. So you see, these numbers are represented up here in place value. So let's work just a couple more place value because that can be confusing. So I'm going to write 25 times 17. Notice I'm doing the green first. So I'm doing 7 times 5 is 35, and then 7 times 20, and that's where most students mess up, is on the 20 part. And then I'm going to do the orange number. So that's 10, and again, that's where most students mess up, is the 10s is the place value. 10 times 5 is 50. 10 times 20 is 200. And then we just add them all up. So I would like for you to do the last 2 place values.